Welcome back. Well, who doesn't want to be the life of the party or make that funny quip at a company meeting?
Our next guest started with a blog on how to be interesting, and something interesting happened. It went viral. So she turned it into a book. Jessica Hagy wrote this guide titled How to Be Interesting in 10 Simple Steps. And we're thrilled to welcome Jessica here to the Morning Blend. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I think this is a great guide for people. How to be interesting. The title in general gets you excited. Everybody wants to be that interesting person with a good story to tell, who people want to listen to. How do you suggest people become more interesting?
I think everyone has the kernel of interesting inside of them. Some people are just better at hiding it than others. And this book is really just sort of about how to let your interestingness out and explore it a little bit more.
Why do you think it's important to be interesting in the first place?
Gosh, we're covered in information. We're just bombarded with it all the time, every day. And when 400 people are applying for one job, the only way to stand out and get called back for it is to be the interesting person with a little bit more to you.
That's a good point.
How do you define interesting? Because I think that's one of those things that when we think about somebody that you can call to mind, we all think of someone who we think is interesting. And how do you define it?
I think interesting, one, is very subjective. So someone who's fascinating to me might leave you cold, and vice versa. But interesting always has something different, something unique to offer, and interesting is always involved and very active instead of passive.
And also, I'm just curious, what age do you really recommend starting this at? Because I know in adolescence and the teenagers, they all want to fit in and be similar to each other as opposed to standing out and being unique.
You know what? The ones that stand out and are brave enough to own their own identity and their own interesting facets, those are the ones that are going to probably go the farthest. So I would encourage everyone to be as interesting as they can be.
I like this, and you really kind of outline these 10 steps to being more interesting. And I always think when people own their own story, kind of like you said, like you recognize the things, everybody's experienced different things, and oftentimes we think, oh, well, because it's just so normal to me, it's not going to be interesting to someone else. But oftentimes just where you grew up, who, you know, stories of your family, those kinds of things tend to be interesting to people, don't you think?
It's true. Everyone has a pile of anecdotes that, because they live with them every day, seem commonplace. But to other people, they're just fascinating, interesting tidbits.
So let's start with some of the steps. What's the first step of your 10?
The first step is to go exploring, and I also think that's the most important of the steps, because when you follow your curiosity, you will find all sorts of things. If you just explore and play with ideas and different places and people and try different foods and put cornbread in your crab dip.
So being more curiosity, experimenting.
Absolutely.
And you even say talk to strangers within that, you know, and that I think is interesting to many people, because we don't always, especially in this technology day and age, we're oftentimes, you know, head down on our phones, on something. We don't always engage in the people that are in the elevator or on
the person
bus
behind you in line at the grocery store.
Yes, yes, and that's part of exploring, isn't it?
It is, and just a few social interactions can really change the tone of your entire day.
Okay. Your step number 2 is share what you discover. So throughout those explorations, share that with people?
Exactly. When you find something fascinating or interesting, or you do something good, as soon as you share it with someone else, that becomes a point of connection to that other person, and that information grows in value exponentially.
Okay. Do something, anything, is your third step.
You have to get off the couch. You can't just sit and wait for something to happen to you, because it never will unless
interesting
you get up
doesn't come to you, right?
No, it's if you're active, you'll find interesting things. If you're passive, the interesting will just pass you by.
Yeah, and I think so many of us, we can get caught in that whole, well, I'm going to watch this show, and then that'll be interesting if I just tweet about that.
Yeah, that's my life.
But you partly have to with movies. So the next one, step 4, is embrace your weirdness. I love this. This is one of my favorites.
I don't think you're so weird, but...
You don't know me well enough yet, Jessica.
Trust.
Nobody's normal. I mean, face it, nobody is completely normal. And what you're remembered by are your weird bits and your strange facets. So you might as well embrace them and run with them.
Well, is there ever the risk of becoming too interesting or too strange, maybe turning some people off?
You know what? Every time you get extremely anything, you're going to turn some people off. And sort of knowing that social line to walk is everybody's own decision. But, you know, you've got to be
So feel
yourself.
It out, trust your instincts.
Exactly.
That's good.
Your next step, number 5, is one close to my heart too, is have a cause.
Yes, everyone's going to be triggered to action by something. You're going to either want to destroy something that's horrible or build up something that's beautiful. And when you find that thing, embracing it and working toward your goal is going to make you a more fascinating person.
And that can be part of exploring. Minimize the swagger. What does this mean for step 6?
You know what? When you are very egotistical and very arrogant, you have a sort of closed-mindedness, that you know everything and that everything's yourself. And when you come instead from a place of openness and learning, you're going to find out new things and do more things. And people are going to want you around more.
Okay, I'm going to kind of go quickly through these last ones so we have time to get through them all. Step 7, give it a shot.
Yeah, we talk ourselves out of so many successes before we even try.
Number 8, hop off the bandwagon.
Yeah, if you're late to a trend, just skip it entirely and start something new yourself.
All right, number 9, grow a pair.
Absolutely.
Be
Women
bold.
especially. You have to stand up for yourself. If you don't, no one else will.
I love that. And your last step, step number 10, ignore the scolds. How important is that?
It's vital because, you know what, whatever you do, if you do it with any gusto or passion at all, someone will poo-poo it or put it down. And you can't listen to that. You have to just follow your own true north and do what you need to do.
I think it's all really great advice.
Thank you.
Seriously, thank you so much.
Yeah, and you have a book signing tonight, so people come out and learn how to be interesting by talking to Jessica, getting a copy of her book. She's going to do a talk, a Q&A, and a signing tonight at 7 o'clock at Linden Sculpture Garden. You can also get her book as well at Boswell Book Company. The Linden Sculpture Garden is on Brown Deer Road in Milwaukee. And then tomorrow you have another one at 7:30 a.m. and that's right on Wisconsin Avenue. So more information on that on our website. You can rewatch this and her top 10 tips to become interesting. Thanks for being here, Jessica.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.